Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I'm a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. Well, we're continuing in a very gentle Pre-Zettelkasten series where we're kind of going to go about finding the essence of a Zettelkasten. We're going to be experiencing a Zettelkasten and what a Zettelkasten is and does before we get into anything technical, before we make any big commitments to methodology or numbering or anything like that. We're going to first get into what it means to have a Zettelkasten, and then we'll discover as our cards grow, as our stack gets thicker, that we're going to want to add certain things just because we're going to feel a need for them. And when that happens, then we'll begin to understand where the other pieces of a Zettelkasten come from. But right now we're exploring some very simple ideas. We've got two paths going. Whenever we read a book, we're tucking a card inside the book that gives us a chance to add some notes as we read. The same thing applies when we're watching a video. We can keep a little mini clipboard on hand, put a card on it, and have something nearby to write some notes when we're watching a video. But right now, those cards are just collections. We're just gradually growing them. We have another track that we've been working on, and that is the file card. Last time, we went over making an addition to your cards. We began with collecting ideas and thoughts. Thoughts that come into your mind during the day, ideas that you're exposed to, quotes from others that we capture on a card so that we won't lose them. And we added a piece last time where we add our own personal reflection. Because when we add our own personal reflection and put something ourselves on the card, a number of wonderful things happen. First of all, we remember the card so much better because we remember things that relate to ourselves way, way better than any other thing, especially abstract information, which just flies away in a wink. Also, by putting a reaction on the card, we know that we've thoroughly understood the card because that's how we can be able to react to it, is out of our understanding. So there's some great value in that. We're going to take that to one new level today. We're going to do a very special line that we're going to add to the card right across the very, very top. And what we're going to put there is something that I call a tagline. And it's a very, very special line that will capture the essence of this card. So come on over to the down-facing camera and I'll show you what I mean by a tagline. And then we'll talk about why is that just the icing on the cake. See you over there. Okay, here we are back at one of the cards that we were playing with last time. This was a quote that came out of a YouTube video. It was a recording of a lecture given by Terry Seville Foy, and it included also my reaction to that quote. And now I want to create a single line that will capture this entire card, capture the quote, capture my response, and just sum the whole thing up for me. And when I come up with that line, I'm going to put it across the top of the card. Now, this isn't going to be a title. A title is a phrase, usually just a noun or just a part of a sentence. It doesn't stand alone as any kind of meaning. So we're not going for a title. We're going for a line that just gives the flavor, gives the movement, gives the action, gives the full vitality of the card. And think of it as being something that you could say in a conversation about this subject. So I'm going to compose my tagline and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, I've added my tagline to this card and I've called it Rethink Reminder. And that's just the way I like it. But this card will remind me that when I do some negative self-talk, that if I throw at the end of it, and that's just the way I like it, I can stop and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not the way I like it. Well, then why am I reinforcing it? Okay, let's take another example. Okay, this one was a thought on the difference between learning and understanding. And it was where I came to the conclusion in a way that learning feels more like work and understanding feels more like joy. I'm trying to get at the difference in my own personal reaction. Learning can be fun, but it can be hard as well. But somehow that magic moment of understanding is pure joy. So I want to capture this whole concept in a tagline that will bring the whole card back to me when I think of it. Okay, and here's how I've captured that card for myself. I think this line will help me bring this whole card back to memory. We can measure learning, but the joy of understanding, wow. And what I'm trying to say by that joy of understanding, wow, is you can't really measure it, but you sure can feel it. Whereas learning, you can measure it. It hopefully is positive. Sometimes it's just hard work, but that joy of understanding is very, very special. And I think I've captured that with this tagline. Here's the last one that we covered last time. It was a quote from one of my YouTube followers, and then my response to it was a set of questions because I had to ponder what my YouTube follower was actually saying in the quote. And the quote was on metaphor. And one thing, don't forget the role of metaphor in compressing memories into smaller neural networks. Pretty interesting, and I've been pondering it since. And here was my reaction to it is, how are we going to bring metaphor into that situation, into an arbitrary situation? And I haven't quite nailed it down yet, but I've got my questions to think about. Now, how am I going to capture that in a tagline? Okay, now here's my tagline from that. Metaphor compresses memories, but what metaphor? Where's it going to come from? Compresses memories? Oh yeah, that smaller neural networks. So for me, just this much is going to bring the whole card back to my recollection. One thing I do, just as habit, I just do this little // and that just lets me know that this is my tagline. It's just a habit I've gotten into. I don't think it's really required, but it kind of reminds me that I'm not talking about a title here. I'm talking about a full tagline that pulls in the whole idea of the card. Okay, now there's one more aspect that I wanted to share with you about the value of this third touch to the card. In fact, it's all three touches in a way. The way that this card is constructed with its three components does a fantastic job of helping this card become a permanent part of your memory. If you think about it, it meets the requirements of spaced repetition for 3 touches, and it has the hand-mind connection where what you handwrite is easily stored in the mind. It has the response that makes it personal, which makes it easier to come into your mind. It has the quiz factor between the first part where you log what you wanted to say, then you have to ask yourself a question, what is my reaction? And when you add that what is my reaction piece, you're activating your mind again, you're reminding yourself of that part that you wanted to remember, and you're reinforcing it. Then when you come back and do the tagline, that's the third touch. Very powerful to have all 3 touches. And in some ways, it's the hardest part. It's the shortest part of the entire card, but it has to capture the whole card. It has to be active, and it has to have the power of bringing that full card back to memory. So it takes a little bit of thought to do that. And the extra thought effort that you have to put in to create that tagline has the benefit of really helping that line stick for you. So I hope you're enjoying this gentle introduction to the Zettelkasten, sort of a pre-Zettelkasten, and this is what we're going to do with our cards. As we capture full thoughts, we'll always put these 3 pieces on a card. So join me next time and we'll add another component to the card. Talk to you later.